Namaste, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. This evening's presentation, Gaayaka and Vaadhya aspects in the art of classical violin playing, I dedicate to the memory of my dear mother who passed away last week. Like we all know, Indian classical music is premised and predicated mainly by the vocal tradition. This is not something which there is much to debate about. It's a singing tradition, for the most part. Every instrumentalist since the time we know of instruments playing classical music, have striven to reach the aesthetics and the versatility of the human voice. The human voice is also an instrument. It's a very complex kind of an instrument, which is a kind of a reed instrument. A reed instrument is something which has a vibrating element through which when air passes, it vibrates and produces frequencies, overtones, timbres. So every instrument has a particular sounding principle, an acoustic principle by which it produces beautiful sound. Correct? The human voice is most complex because the vocal cords themselves are anywhere between 15 to 20,000 reeds that produce this complex sound when we sing. So the kind of possibilities, that's why they say, there's the very famous Hindi song, नाम भूल जाएगा चेहरा बदल जाएगा तेरी आवाज ही पहचान है, meaning billions and billions of people, but each voice sounds so different because the possibilities and potential and the variations possible thereof are endless. So for example, if I take the violin, how many of you would agree or disagree that it is primarily it comes under a classification of what is called a tatavadhya or a stringed instrument? But how many of you would agree that it's a plucked instrument, like the veena? Can I have a show of hands? You agree it's a plucked instrument? Very true. The physics of it is, I'll explain it very simply for you. Okay, here is a string in tension, right? Suspended between 2 points. When the bow, which is drawn perpendicular to the direction of the string, tries to displace the plane of the string this way, the friction between the bow hair and the string displaces it. But then again, the string tension tends to come back to its original position. This happens hundreds of times in a second. So basically, a violin is a plucked instrument. It gets plucked hundreds of times in a second. That's why, unlike a veena or a guitar, where the plucking is distinct, here the plucking happens hundreds of times over a second. That's why it seems like a continuous sound, analogous sound. Whereas in a guitar or a veena or a gotuvadyam or whatever, the plucking is distinct, it has an attack and it has a decay, correct? The plucking will not remain forever. So, in terms of aural possibilities, the violin is a very complex instrument. This vibration is picked up by the bridge, passed on to the top plate and bottom plate of the instrument. There is a sound post inside which conveys this complex overtone rich texture, and it produces very beautiful sound. So, having given you that brief, the more complex the possibility of sound, the more difficult it is to manipulate it. Correct? On a mandolin or on a guitar, there's one tone, that's all. You pluck it, hundreds of people pluck it in a particular way, it will all sound the same. On a keyboard, you strike a key, it will sound the same, whoever strikes it. Whereas, because the production of sound in those instruments is a relatively simple process, it is one only of what is called activation. Here, on a complex instrument like the violin, or to an extent even the bansuri or the kudal or the flute, where there is a contouring of a complex sound possible, because the production of sound itself is complex, and the means by which the sound is amplified and rendered is also an intensely complex process. The possibilities are more. So that is the reason why the violin tends to be able to reproduce the complexity and possibilities of a vocal sound very closely. So it's not an accident that the violin is chosen to be the accompanying instrument in a vocal kacheri, or the sarangi, which also functions in the same principle, is the chosen instrument for the North Indian vocal counterpart. It's because the possibilities of the voice are very closely followed by the possibilities that the violin can also achieve. I'm not judging any instrument here, these are facts. These are pure scientific facts. So, it is this management, understanding and control of sound production and the possibilities thereof that pose both a challenge as well as an opportunity for the violinist to reach very close to Gaayaka. A veena can never reach Gaayaka, because sound itself is going to be broken. In fact, the violin can sometimes even surpass Gaayaka, because there is an endless bow. There is no sense of breadth, short, or range is more. The range of the instrument is 4 or 5 octaves. So in some ways, but for practical purposes, the violin reaches very close to what all the voice can do. In terms of sound, tonal variety, speed articulation, gamaka, shuddha, versatility, emphasis, all these are possible on the violin as much as with the voice. That is why some people have said that if the violin was around during Goddess Saraswati's times, she would be holding a violin in the hand and not a veena. This is just in jest, okay. So, but it has a certain truth ringing in it. But anyway, now the sound of the violin itself, the sound of the violin is due to the voice of the violin is the bow. Correct? Like how Ganeer or voice kekanamna, or a Bhimsen Joshio, MD Ramnathano, or a Voleti Venkateshwarulu, or MS Subbalakshmiyo, voice is the first thing which attracts you. Richness of the voice, what all the voice can do, the clarity and articulation of the voice, the possibility of bhava in the voice, the possibility of beautiful articulation of sahitya in the voice, the possibility of creating phrases in the voice. These are all achieved by the bow hand. Of course, the tune itself, the melody, the notes, the swaras, the gamakas are a combination of both left and right hand. But essentially, the voice of the instrument is the bow. So, bowing itself is a very complex process of sadhana. The pressure with which I use the bow, the section of the bow which produces different sounds, the speed with which I draw the bow, the attack and decay of the bow, which part of the bow I use. So many possibilities, all of which are there also when we sing. Articulation with the bow for Sahitya. These are all things which tend to make the violin get very, very close to what the voice can do. So, violin playing as an art in Indian classical music has evolved along both these lines. Has evolved along lines where the Gaayaka is pradhanya, that is, it is the main emphasis. But then again, the instrument itself lends itself uniquely to so many other things. We will see that. And those are additional elements which go into the craft and art of violin playing. That is what is the Vaadhya aspect. What the violin alone can do very well. So we will see different things, like what I started with is a composition of Harihara Abhagavadar Gam Ganapate in Raga Hamsadvani. So let me just break it down a little bit for you. So a violin player worth his salt will be able to first and foremost articulate the song for you in the playing. The articulation of Sahitya, the phrasing of the composer's intent, all of them have to come through. Only then is it a valid rendition. So, basically a violinist has to sing in his head. The bow then follows that song in terms of Sahitya, in terms of phrasing. So when I play, my voice is very unwell. So I'm going to sing very sparingly, and I beg your pardon. Just to illustrate certain points, I will sing. Shrutim romba high idukku. So, Gam Ganapate Namo Namo Shankaritanaya Namo Namo Gam Ganapate Namo Namo. So, Gam Ganapate Namo Namo. That phrasing of the Sahitya, if I play, the notes are the same. My left hand is still doing the same way. But the phrasing of the so it's a complex sound of gum gana gum. It's not gum gana. The gum itself is a varying tone of dynamics, correct? See, so I cannot say namo namo stridently. It doesn't make any sense. Gam ganapate namo namo. Namaste you can only say with vinamrata. You cannot say Namo Namo as if you are the king of the world. Correct? So, the tonal inflections, the dynamic variations are all present in the. When I play a Namo Namo, the bhava of the singing has to come out in the playing. So, there are hundreds of such things in every song that a good violinist will strive to reach. Okay, so. So, Shankari, Shankari. So, there is a Shankari, it's not that. Shankari, that is ordinary. Whereas Shankari, Tanaya, Shankari, Tanaya, Shankari, Tanaya, that is not musical. Shankari, Tanaya, Namo Namugam. Ganapate Namo Namo Shankari Tanaya. So the phrasing of the words, Similarly, in the Anupallavi, Ankushadhara Mangalakara Pankaja Charana. That's the line, correct? So when I play that Ankushadhara Mangalakara, the same line will come again in the section of the charana. Kunkuma bhaguna nija harikesa kumara. The same line will come there. But then the phrasing and the words are different. So one of them is Ankushadhara Mangalakara. The charanam is Kunkuma bhaguna nija. If you see, the word spacing is different. So I have to, if I have any sense of integrity towards the composer, I have to be able to produce these two as slightly different things. So So in the Anupallavi it will come like this. In the Charana, the same line. So once you enunciate the line with integrity, then I can introduce a Vaadhya aspect to it in terms of variation, in terms of showing element of the violin versatility. So this Sangadi, so this is a violinistic element, correct? This is not a vocal element. Gam Gam Ganapate Namo Namo Shankari. Gam Ganapate Namo Namo Shankari Dhanaya Namo Namo Namo. When I sing it, it will be full of the akara. But on the violin, I can choose to project a Vaadhya element there just for the sake of an enhanced musicality. Once I have established the integrity of the Sahitya, I can go on to modify it. There is a certain logic, an artistic sense in that. So, there, that itself. Many times the vocal palette of Sangadis has also evolved because of the possibilities of instruments that it mimics. You understand? In our music, it's not that vocal music has always developed singularly and isolatedly. The Veena influences vocal music. Rajaratnam's Nadaswaram influenced vocal music to a great extent. Lal Gudi sir's playing. In fact, many people sing like the violin today. The vocal elements are gone. I'm just seeing what I'm just telling you things which I observe. So the violinistic elements of a sway in the without the gambhiram, with more of melody in it, is a definite influence of the violin on vocal tradition. So S. Kalyan Raman sir was greatly influenced by Rajaratnam. So GNB sir, his vocal tradition style itself is based on the brika and gamakas and the speed virtuosity of Rajaratnam. Lalgudi sir's palette of gamakas is greatly influenced by Rajaratnam. Later singers who came, MDR, Mali, belonged to a period where they fed off each other in terms of Nidanam and in terms of plain swaras, in terms of Gambhiram. So we realize that instruments have a big role, have always played a very big role in determining vocal style itself. So these are like two streams which kind of go hand in hand. Elements of the instrument which are beautiful get adopted into the voice. Of course, like I said, the voice is primary. So the violin or any other instrument, especially where Sahitya dominated system like Carnatic, we have no choice that we have to mimic the singing tradition. So I'll play a small piece in the Raga Shankara in the Hindustani tradition, which Shankara is very close to our Hindustan, our Hamsadwani. It adds Daivata on the Avroha. Here it is more, the words are Sirpe Dhari Ganga, Kamara Mriga Chala, Mundaki Gale Mal, Hatheli Sulasaj. It describes Shiva. Sirpe Dhari Ganga, Mudila Ganga. Kamara Mriga Chala, tiger skin around the waist. Mundaki Gale Mal, skull necklace. Hatheli Sula Saje, Kaila Trishula. So this form of Shiva is presented in Raga Shankara. So this composition of Kumar Gandharva, you will see as to how I will strive to bring out this form, even though the words are not there for you to listen when I play, in terms of the aesthetics of the Ganga, the flow of the river, this all-powerful form of Shiva, its strident and very, very affirmative presence is what, as an instrumentalist, I will strive to bring out. So the composition is Sir pe dhari Ganga, Sir pe dhari Ganga, Kamar mriga chala, Sir pe dhari Ganga, Kamar mriga chala, Mundaki gale mal, Hatheli sula saje, Sir pe dhari Ganga. So the emphasis on the words Sir pe dhari Ganga. No, the way the phrasing of the words itself work that way. So to bring that out on the violin is exceptionally difficult, because like I told you, there is no instrument more superior and more versatile than the voice. Sir pe dhari Ganga, Kamara mriga chala, Mundaki gale mal, Hatheli sula saje, Sir pe dhari Ganga. That's how it works. So the sense of the power of Shiva. difficult to play it without the tabla. But then you get the sense of when you have to figure out the fingering, which string you play on. For example, Sirabedari is one phrase. I have to play that particular phrase on one string to be able to bring out that effects. So that Pavanida Baba Gabaga, Pavanida Baba Gabaga, Sirabedari, that phrase has to be on one string. Ganga becomes soft. Sirabedari Ganga. Ganga becomes very pure. So the tone change of the Ganga itself being both powerful and soft in the same line. The challenges in terms of trying to get the bhava of the vocal in the song is something which is the process of striving. So we shall so like I said, the Gaayaka aspects are the musical phrasing which is achieved with the bow, the choreography of the bow itself. Like I said, bowing is a very, very complex art. Unfortunately, we don't pay too much attention to it. But the masters have all proved that their greatness lies because of in terms of how they choreograph the bow to maximize its potential. Being able to emulate Sahitya articulation, tone color of the voice, dynamic variation of the voice, Gamaka complexity and integrity, Aritam emphasis, accents, all of these. And of course, finally, the bhava expression that the voice gives. I shall play some first lines of some compositions and you will see Vilambakala compositions and you will see the degree of complexity of the Gamaka itself and the control of the bow which is required to bring out these lines. Veena Pustaka Dharini, a composition of Muthuswami Dikshitar in the Raga Vahini. This is in Champatala. So the continuity of the line is what is the challenge. Veena Pustaka Dharini Ma Shraye Vegavagini Vani Shraye. Muthuswami Dikshitar would have been a singer with a breath as long as 1 minute. So this is a long line. Veena Pustaka Dharini Mashraye Vegavahinim Vanim Asre. So but the line itself is so long drawn. Now the violin the voice will never be able to sing this in one breath. It's 2 avartanas of a 10 akshara tala. Okay, it's not possible for a voice to sing it without breath unless you record in a studio like Shankar did for breathless and punch in and then try to fool. That's a different story. But then here the idea that I will try to play it as if it's a single line. There is a Murphy's law when it comes to demonstrating. You know. So all these things I'll play 10 times better, but I will still have to make a try because when I want to prove a point, it will always, there is an Ishvara who will tell, no, you cannot prove any point. Just do your job. because of the continuity of the bow, it is possible to play this line. Or a line like Cheta Sri Balakrishnam Bhajare Re Chintita Artha Prada Charanaravinda Mukundam Che. So this particular line, there are three Rishabhas. Cheta Sri, right? Ri, ri, ri. So all three of them have different gamakas. If I sing Cheta Sri, that's not the purpose. If Dikshidhar wanted it, all three of them to be the same, why will he say do three Rishabhas? Correct? Even a repeat note has to enhance the value of the note. That is a logic. A janta swara, whether it be a double janta or a triple janta, has to enrich the musical line. So, how will I do those three Rishabhas to bring out that Chetasri? So that line, Cheta Sri Balakrishnam Bhajare. I have two choices here. I can play it easily, but I play it on two strings. So that spoils the continuity, according to me. So, %99 of you will not be able to make out the difference. But now when I choose to play that particular line on the same string, so ga ma ga ri sa sa ni da ni sa. I play it on the same string so as to give that phrase a particular seamlessness. You understand? So one option is the easier option. This is a slightly more difficult option. So you go for the slightly more difficult option because it produces a more continuous sense of the musical line. In the same composition, in the Madhyama Kala, Navatulasi Vanamalam Naradadi Munijalam Kuvalayadi Paripalam Guru Guhanuta Gopalam. These 4 lines, okay? So I will choose to play these 4 lines on each of them on one string, so that I can capture the continuity of each. In the voice there are no strings. It's one continuous range. But on every instrument you have what are called registers or strings. You have to change from one to the other. So the continuity is always destroyed. So the challenge for the violinist is to how to maintain that continuity as best as he or she can. So this is the first line. So I'll try to play all of them in the Satandi. The second line on the Patandi. So you have 4 lines. All 4 of them I will play on different strings. But each line will be fully, I will not play. This spoils the continuity of the Gaayaka. It's easier to, but now this produces a continuity which I am happy with. Navatulasi vanamalam. I can easily play it as, but I will choose not to do that because that is the easy option. Always remember one thing, if it is easy, it's not worth it. In classical arts, if it is easy, sometimes you have to look at it and say, maybe there is something of much more value somewhere else. So you have to discard the easy things and actually pursue things which are not so easy. Then you land up with something substantial. So here I can play with the Devata. Navatulasi. I can produce a sense of on the Satandi, like on the I can, that's easy. So the Gaayaka striving of an artist in terms of Sahitya is endless. Every composition I can pick, I have to, if I am dedicated to the art of producing Gaayaka on my instrument, I have to strive towards making it as close as possible to what the voice does. A good voice, a good singer does. Correct? I have learned this composition of Vishwasar, the great T. Vishwanathan. And then when he sings, the skies just open up because it is so beautiful. Each gamaka shines, each varte, even though you don't know Sanskrit, you assume the meaning assimilates itself within you. The description of Krishna, Cheta Sri Balakrishna, so beautiful. So even if you take a composition, so in Vilamba Kala Kritis, that is why 90% of violinists don't play Vilamba Kala Kritis, because they are difficult to execute. Instrumental yaar Vilamba Kala Kriti vasikira? Artisticum patience illa, kekaravirukkum patience illa. So the Gaayaka aspect of instrumental playing is taking a slight back seat, I would say. And also, this also I will tell because it's an objective fact. Many of the modern instruments cannot play Gaayaka. How can a mandolin play Gaayaka? How can a keyboard play Gaayaka? How can a saxophone play Gaayaka? It is beyond the physical acoustic scope of the instrument. Only keys are struck on a keyboard or on a saxophone. Cannot. Where is the complexity of gamakas that Indian music is so great? It has no parallel anywhere in the universe. Even if there is an alien species somewhere producing music, it will not have gamakas like of the complexity and beauty that we have. I am quite sure about it. It is so unique. So without that complexity and that richness, Our music is only 25%. Otherwise, you are just playing tunes. Correct? I'll play a little bit of Ahiri. You'll know in terms of the complexity of the Gamakas. I'll play the composition. So. Maya Mayani. All of you know the composition? It is pleading of Shama Shastri. So the bhava of Nyayama Meenakshamma, when he asks, that bhava has to come through at some level. It will not reach the level of the voice, definitely. Because with the voice you have, it is so innate to you, it is so with you, it is not external. Here the instrument is after all external to me. It's an extension of me, but still it remains external. So the striving is always going to be just approximating the voice. So ஷட்ஜத்தில் கமகம் இல்லா இருக்கக்கூடாது சொல்லுவா. பட் நான் வாசிக்கிறதுல கமக்கம் இருக்குது, பாடுறதுலையும் கமக்கம் இருக்குது. So it is just a rule for the grammar books. In practical music, sometimes the sa and pa, in order to project a particular poignance, it will vibrate. It's not non-vikrita. Vikrita means varying. So it will produce tone color. I'm forgetting. So the way the tone of the bow also moves in a very, very soft and plaintive way. So also in a line like Disayangalum Pugadum Sivagangayum Devasabhayum Shivakami Darisanamum பசிகோடாது பார்த்த பேர்க்கு கலகங்கள் பரந்திட மகிழ்ந்து உன்னை பாடிக்கொண்டு. So the idea of the gamakas in Devagandhari are very subtle. So the Disayangalum, that re to dha connection is so beautiful. That is called a jaru or dhatu jaru, eta jaru. Ri ri da pa 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 ma ri 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 ga ma ri ri sa di sa. That brika itself, sa di sa, it's not that. Sa di sa, it's a gentle brika. So the elements of the raga. So Devagandhari will never have a disasa like a Malaya Marutam or any of the other ragas. It will have a very gentle brika. So each charana will have a different approach. Panchakshara padiyum kodi kambamum kovilalagum adidana ragasiyamum anjal kurum. So anjal kurum has to be very bold. வீரமணிகளோசையும் அந்தகரண மயக்கம் தீர்ந்துன்னை பாடிக்கொண்டு. So the value of the Devata has to be higher. How will a saxophone do that? It's not possible. Da da ni da ma. The Shruti value of the Devata in Devagandhari is almost ni. It is between da and ni. So So I have to do that. That undan has to come from Rishabha. So I have to shift strings there. So it has to come with the jaru. So to produce the sense of how the voice moves, one has to work on fingerings. For example, every time I play the next Sangadi, I'm always in tension. Because the timing of the Sangadi, so at what point do I take off from Pa and launch into the Sangadi? So, and that Dasada Pamama Vagari has to be very soft. My bow should not bounce because it's a Altham Sangadi, it is soft, which is a challenge. Altham Sangadi which is played loud is easier. Altham ulla Sangadi soft ah paadradhu romba vasikkiradhu romba kashtam. That re also comes from somewhere else. So the raga phrases and the gamakas therein, if you want to approach the complexity and the richness of this is hundreds and hundreds of years of the aesthetics of the tradition. This is not something which is developed over one generation or two generations. That's why some of these very traditional ragas are so beautiful. You hear the same line hundreds of times, thousands of times in your entire lifetime. It will only get fresher and fresher and fresher and more beautiful. Correct? I would have played this line hundreds of times. Every time I enjoy the play. If it comes fine, I am very happy. If it doesn't come out very fine, then I know I have to work a little harder. That's all. But the line still remains beautiful. So it is all a way you relate to the beauty of the raga. Correct? Like so, these Yangalum, Pugadum, Pugadum, it's very clean. Pugadum, Sivagangayum. If I sing, these Yangalum, Pugadum, Sivagangayum, this is very square, devoid of any bhava. These Yangalum, புகழும் சிவகங்கையும் தேவ சபையும் சிவகாமி தரிசனமும். The delicateness of the Rishabha and Devata in Devagandhari is what sets it apart. So when you approach Gaayaka on an instrument, unless these bass, so playing a kriti on the instrument is probably much more difficult than singing it. If you have, because every gamaka, every phrase, you have to be able to imagine and you have to be able to realize the complexity involved. Correct? So if you I'll play one line of a padam in Kamboji. I'll play atana before that. These are all ragas which is very challenging on an instrument. You can also tell me any raga that you want to listen to, I'll play, not a problem. Is it? Kekla? Pakla. So, So the kind of gamakas that are there in Atana are very different from in a raga like Begada. The anuswaras are so beautiful. They are so critical. Dapa, there is no dapa. Danipa, always it dapa magari sa magari ri. So all that has to be realized. A good singer does it subconsciously. But on an instrument, I can never get anything subconsciously. Because I have to be able to produce the notes. So I cannot play. That is amateur. If I play, that is dapa. But whereas if I play, that is begada. Correct? You can make out the difference. That is normal. Sagariga, sagagamariga. It is always that way. So even though sagariga, even though I say sagariga, it is sagagamariga. So the complexity of the gamaka. accents. The accent on the anuswara of pa. So pa ma da pa ma ga pa ma ri ga. So ella ragathum eduthinda the complexity of the gamakas is very unique. So oro ragathile avlo work pannum. Olunga violin vasikkanum. So if you take Sahana, it is so beautiful. If you take any of the great classical raga, Varali, அந்த காந்தாரத்தோடு விடுற விதம், சேம் காந்தாரா, கா கா கா, அதேதான். The gamaka is same, but the tonal value, the duration of the attack, the duration of, yeti janmam kavava is more gentle. Yeti janmam, Tyagaraja is complaining. Enna oru janmam idu, nee like enna janmam. He is in full angst and anger. Whereas kavava kandava va ennikava velava murugava. So the approach of that Gandhara for each composition, so the Gandhara they will say Varaliga. But there are 10-15 gas. So to be able to, when you actually sing it well, or when you hear a good singer, you will be able to see this. Correct? Kana kana ruchira kana kavasani ninnu. So you will see that the Gandhara has so many different articulations, like எல்லாமே காதா. ஸோ ஒரு ராகம் எடுத்தனாலும் அந்த கமகாஸோடு ஒரு சாதனை இருக்கு, பாட்டில் இருக்கட்டும், இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்ட்டில் இருக்கட்டும். பட் த ஐடியா, லைக் ஐ செட், இஸ் டு ரீச் the kind of sophistication that is there in the gamaka that the voice does. That is the basic idea. Sometimes, like I said, there are things which we have to work out on an instrument. For example, if I take a sangadi for example, Siddhi Vinayakam, Shanmugapriya eduthinda, there is a particular sangadi which comes out on the voice very easily. But then I have to figure out how to bring the same continuity on the instrument. So ஒரு சங்கதி இருக்கு, சீதி விநாயகம் சீதி விநாயகம், ஒரு சங்கதி. நம்ம அந்த ரிகிரி சனி தப்ப மகரிசா அந்த கண்டினியூட்டி வந்து எப்படி நம்மளால வயலின்ல கொண்டு வரலாம்னா ரொம்ப கஷ்டம். ஸோ I'll have to do a shift and come to the Satandi very much early, sir. So the continuity of the line, if you can notice, So I'll have to figure out a way of producing the continuity on the violin. So there are so many challenges that the instrument poses, but all of them have very beautiful solutions if you're willing to work hard. And if you have the ear, and if you have a good teacher, there are many ifs. Okay, but hopefully one by one, if you keep clearing the ifs, the violin starts approaching the Gaayaka. Even in Madhyama Kala, if you take the Pancharatnam, Pancharatnathil Swaramum paadi, Sahityam paadnom. So அந்த சாகித்யத்தில் வாசிக்கிற போது அந்த சாகித்யம் எப்படி வெளிப்படுறது? How do we project the sahitya? So if you take something like Bhagavata Ramayana Gita Dishuti Shastra Pura Apumarma Mulan. So if you take that Bhagavata Ra, correct? Tyagaraja plays games with you. He separates the musical line and the sahitya line. So you cannot play Bhagavatara. It doesn't make any sense. What is Gavatara? Bhagavata Ramayana. Correct? Bhagavata Ramayana. So everywhere he consciously does that. Actually, he's posing challenges to the singer. All of us fail in that challenge. Most of us fail in that challenge. Because we continue to say Bhagavatara Mayana Gita Dishu Shastra Purana Pumar. What is Napumarma Mulan? Puranam has to come together. So that's why when you sing the swara and the sahitya, the accents of the sahitya have to match that of the sahitya. That is the meaning of the word, the continuity of the words. So when you play it also, you have to keep it in mind. So even there in the Tarastai, so if I do, that is amateurish. So because no, I want to do Bhagavatara. So for that, the Rishabha has to be caught on the Patandi. So Bhavaraga Layadi Saukhya. So that re to re, I have to be able to produce an illusion of continuity. So if it is not coming without the continuity. I am trying to get it. That is without the continuity. Whereas even that, the bounce in the sahitya, it's not that. So you realize that even in Madhyama Kala, or in a line like in Mohanam, in a composition Rama Ninnu Namina, Valaya Muganuranu Jagela Sukuna Sri Dasaratha Drupala Hridayananda Karalola Pala Velayumika Pala Lochana Hridayala Yapta Janapala Kanakamaya Chelaika Parakela Ipudumam Mela Nidumana Sela Radu Rama ninnu nammina. So the words are very complex and all continuous. So when you have to play that, you have to be able to try to reach that the musical sense of what Tyagaraja intended. So that Valaya Muganu Ranu Jagela Suguna Sri Dasaratha. So the continuity of the words, where it has to be broken, all of that, I have to pay attention. If I want to play Gayaka truly and honestly to myself, I have to be able to figure out in my head, I have to sing it in my head, I have to do the bow choreography such that it can be realized. So it is not a joke. This will be perceptible only to less than 1% of the listeners. But then, my first listener is Tyagaraja. Wherever he is blessing. So, the idea is that you have to keep striving. Now, all this is not possible on these modern instruments. It's clear and cut, and it's very non-debatable. Okay, how can you produce these continuities over a keyboard? Even Saraswati Devi will not be able to do it because it's the limitation of the instrument. So, or if you take Devendra Dula Mechuta Kulanka Dayato Dana Mosangi Sada Broche Varevare Raghupati. So Devendra Dula Mechuta, it should be Mechuta, correct? So when I play it, I have to be able to bring that Mechuta Kulanka. Dayato Dana Mosangi Sada. This Dayato Dana has to get that sense of space. Because when I sing Devendra Dula Mechuta Kulanka Dayato Dana Mosangi Sada Bro Chevarevare Raghupati. So when I play, so Mechuta Tak Tata, it has to have that break there. Mechuta, otherwise if I play, I cannot play that. It has to be broken because it's Mechuta. So, I have to try to get that sense of the Shadja, of the glory of the Shadja. So, Sahityathila avlo work pandradhukku irukku on an instrument if you want to. I can give you many examples, but let us. So, like I said, emphasis, accents, continuities, articulation of Sahitya, the bhava. If I take a line like so in that Teliyaleru Rama, that Gandhara is very tender. Teliyaleru Rama, that is ordinary. Teliyaleru Rama has a certain sense of bhava, correct? Or Nanati Baduku Natakamu Nanati. That the tenderness of the Rishabha, which is the hallmark of this composition in Revati, I have to be sensitive to that. Correct? Narati Batuku Natakamu. So the sense of bhava also is very, very critical to what is called Gaayaka. Because a good master singer, every part of his singing, whether it be alapana, swarakalpana or anything, is full of bhava. That is the hallmark of our tradition. Bhava is what lets us slip in into the sahitya and the aesthetics of the whole system. So without that, there is no, music is of no use. You might be a master technician, you might be very brilliant and virtuosic, but without bhava, I doubt if it's worth it. So the bhava is also part of what the bow does. The bow has to paint the bhava. You understand? So the bow is basically the, like I said, the voice of Gaayaka. The Gaayaka's voice for the violin is the bow, and where I use, like, so the Rishabha, at what, if I play it with too much pressure, if I play it with too much of the strong bow, it will not work. The angle of the bow also, I will have to use it at the sideways so that the whole weight of my hand doesn't fall on the bow. It is always this kind of soft sound. It's not that. It's a soft sound. So there are hundreds of possibilities in terms of where like for example, I cannot play it here because it's too thick sound, whereas it's more the sound that I want. So in terms of what portion of the bow, the choreography of the bow is very critical, especially when you pay attention to musical phrasing and sahitya emphasis. If you take a raga like, the way I stop the re in Todi, it's not that. Ga, ta, ra, ra, ra. The crispness of the ending of the re. Ta, ra, ta, ra, re, 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 re. So, ga, ga, re, re is abrupt end. So, Nalgudi Sarvasper. So the cut in the bowing. So on the madhyamatla, the soft, slow bow. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ರಾಜರತ್ನ. dun, dun, ta, ta, dun, dun, the tawil will start. And the Gandharathil it will start. So the value that many of the great artists have lent to the richness of the raga is all a treasury for us. Correct? So for both vocalists as well as instrumentalists. So in complex ragas like Bhairavi, Kamboji, Thodi, Saveri, it's all you have to keep working at getting close to the possibilities of all the gamakas, because hundreds and hundreds of gamakas, hundreds and hundreds of phrases, all of which make the raga worthwhile, So the striving for Gaayaka is also what the striving for Vaadhya is in this context. Then we can go to, generally what is I will just play a little bit of Kedar for you. Okay, Kedar is Nama Amir Kalyani. So in this you will see the expanse of the raga, the slow jaru, what is called meend. So the continuity of the two madhyamas. So the ability to slide from one note to the other seamlessly. The ability of how the voice, the continuity of that jaru. Samagapa pasada pasada nida pa pada pama pada pama padama padama. All that travel from da to pa, there are 16 ways of doing that da to ma. So all of that you have to be able da pa ma and the peri madhyamate kaati into varudhu sa da ma panchamata kaati prati madhyamata mattum kaatradhu ellame and the jaru different varieties of jarus sa ma pa da ma. Correct? Sama. Illa notum tottu verum, but it won't be articulated. Sama padama padama pama padama pamarisa samaga gaga pa pasada dani nidari dada nidani mapa. So the sense of the raga in terms of how the vocal does it, in the raga like this, the bow never lets go because the fullness of the sound, So the way I will use the different fingers, madhyamathu idu vechikalam, idu renduma vechikalam, idu vechikalam. Generally solren, violin vasikiravarukku theriyum. So what I choose to slide from where to where, which fingers to use, so that I get the continuity of sound. In a raga like Darbari, so the Rishabha, it vibrates in its own place in different ways. Sometimes it is still. Sometimes it is. So a santur will not be able to play this. Where it will do ta. So they will all play only these chandrakons and these bhiplas and all. All the main ragas get left out. Sometimes the introduction of modern instruments, what happens is that it robs 50-60% of the repertoire of ragas. So the next generation will never get to hear complex and rich ragas. Sometimes I feel that is the sadness that I have. Because if the guitar and santur are going to play Hindustani ragas, then everything is doomed. Because you won't get these ragas. An Amir Kalyani, a Kedar, a Bilas Khani Todi, all these ragas will disappear because those instruments cannot play them. They'll keep playing Kirvani, Latangi, all these scalar ragas. They are also beautiful ragas. I have all ragas are Deivam. There's nothing against. But some of the very complex and rich ragas, which is a hallmark of the tradition, they will get lost because the people also don't insist for it. This kind of sophistication and this kind of richness. Correct? So sometimes it is a saddening fact. Anyway, let us not dwell on that. So if you have a raga like Rageshri, so the kind of anuswaras which are there, so you find that the anuswaras are so saga mare sa. In the phrase liye saga mare saga again vardhan sa is what saga mare is what saga mare sa za ni da ni da ni sa ni saga saga ma da ga saga ma da da ni sa ni da saga ma da ga ma ri sa ma ri da ni da ga ma da ni ni ri sa. So the kind of richness of the anuswaras, So the richness of the continuity of the raga, the absolute joy in the raga. Rageshri is such a joyful raga. So the elements of the bhava of the raga, you don't need sahitya. The raga has a swarupa, has a personality, has a completion on its own. But you have to be able to realize that both in your song as well as in your playing. Then you realize the raga. The raga realization is only with the bhava. So that is a very Gaayaka aspect of the playing. We shall go to, there are a lot of other things which I wanted to emphasize, but we'll keep it for some other day. If you take a raga like so the instrumental part of it, where sometimes the instrumental can do brikas and speed, ati durita. The violin is a very beautiful instrument because it is an epitome in terms of its what is called response. The kind of clarity and speed that a good violin instrument and a good player can realize is something which is amazing. A speed and virtuosity which no other instrument can produce. A clarity and perfection. Moment this instrument can produce great perfection, you can be assured that it can produce greater imperfection. Correct? So if I take a raga like say Bilahari, so the speed possible, idu vocal varadu. So sometimes sangatis evolve even in vocal tradition because of possibilities of the instrument. Like if compositions like Raghavendra Sudham Budichandra or Ninuvina. These are all Vaadhya aspects. They don't make any sense with the Sahitya. But somehow they have evolved as showpieces. So if you take, so there's kind of So these kind of sangadis have all evolved because of a particular instrumental possibility. I doubt if the composer had this in, these are all sangadis which have come later. That is for sure. Or, kind of things are all instrumental. Tyagaraja would never have sung it this way. He would not have sung. Tattvamasi anuvakya. He's saying Tattvamasi anuvakyarthamu. He's extolling the virtue of that way, of that Mahavakya, Tattvamasi. He would have not have sung it as all these kind of things are very Vaadhya. But they are also fun. There is a scope for that also in our great tradition, that you can showcase a particular. These are all very violinistic. Okay? There is no doubt about that. Huh? Now in the leg dem full demonstrate that. For example, so bow control has to be of high quality in terms of how I bounce the bow. I cannot play. அது இங்கேயும் இல்லை அங்கேயும் இல்லை, அது வாத்தியமும் இல்லை காயக்கம் இல்லை, எங்கே நெடுங்கட்டான உட்காந்துட்டு இருக்கு. ஸோ whereas so things like that. இதெல்லாமே நான் பவுன்ஸ் பண்ணி வாசிப்பேன். So it's called spiccato. Instead of அதோட better to make it a light and bouncy playful piece. So I will bounce the bow. So things like that, technique can be used to do a lot of different things. Even while playing swaras, board technique nariya use pannalam to create variations. In Hindustani drut, ati drut, when we do a kind of a jhala, so this is raga called Miya Malhar. Miya Malhar, if I do jhala in Miya Malhar, it has to take in account all the gamakas, at the same time the fast ati drut, So these kind of phrases, these kind of things are all due to the bow. kind of techniques are all which are Vaadhya, where it requires tremendous bow control in terms of being able to produce big sound, bounce the bow, produce jatis like. But you cannot do it for the entire concert. Then it will just be a gimmick. It can be a showcasing of the potential of the Vaadhya. If I have to play Miya Hamalar, it has to be. So only this will bring rain. That will not bring any rain. Malhar sir, so we will not play any rain ragas because we have too much rain already. But things like when you look at the Vaadhya aspects of the instrument, that's also immense because the scope of expression of the instrument is so large. The tonal varieties, the sound varieties, because of the bow. Like I said, I use this phrase painting with the bow because like how a painter can use his brush in so many different strokes, in so many levels of textures, in so many densities of paint, in so many combinations of colors. Similarly, the bow provides so much opportunity in terms of... so even if you look at some of the compositions of say Lalgudi sir, or even Balamurli to an extent, is very violistic. They are born out of a sense of the instrumental aesthetic. You know, I am not judging anything. Everything is valid. Shyama Shastri's compositions are born out of a certain aesthetic that is more internal to him. Tyagaraja's compositions, Bach's compositions are born out of his being a capel master and playing the organ in the church. Mozart played the harpsichord and the piano. So his music is very fleeting. Beethoven was more of a conductor. Mahler was a super symphony conductor. So his music reflected that grandeur and that bigness, vastness. So every composer composes according to what he is very used to, what is the basic aesthetic within them. If you are a flute player, your compositions will reflect elements of the flute. It's but natural. So, Lalgudi sir's compositions, his tilanas, his varnams, are very violinistic because of that. So, if you take even interpretation of compositions. Now, this line, the way Lalgudi sir plays, is Tirada Vilayattu Pillai. You will not sing it that way. Tirada Vilayattu Pillai. You will sing it that way. That is natural. Whereas to play it as, sing it. So it will have both the Gaayaka and Vaadhya aspects slipping. Like that is entirely Vaadhya. Correct? It like, and then I will also do the other way. அந்த தட்டி பறிப்பான்னு அது ஒரு எஃபெக்ட். ஸோ அந்த ஃப்ரேஸ் எல்லாமே வயலினிஸ்டிக். So again it goes to the Gaayaka. This slipping of octaves also is a Vaadhya aspect. So this you will not do in a vocal way. So the range of the instrument, because suddenly மேல பாடிட்டு கீழ மந்திர சப்தக்ல பிடிக்கணும்னா ரொம்ப கஷ்டம், ஆராலே முடியாது. Whereas on the violin it is quite effortless. So So again, the slipping of octaves from one to the other is a Vaadhya aspect. So இதெல்லாமே violin aspects. So this again will become like a combination of both, you know. So the combination of how the Gaayaka and the Vaadhya just go from one to the other, it gives a dimension which is probably more effective than the voice itself, because I am able to do both together. So the playfulness that the bow creates, like so the tenderness also. So the weight on Madhyama is not. This is a beginner, whereas the ability to express the bhava, you know. ability to be playful with the bow. Every time I play this, I will play it slightly differently as I feel on that day. So the ability of being playful, of being very light-hearted also. So every line offers a possibility for bhava. சந்திரு சார்லாம் இது ரொம்ப வருஷம் முன்னால் வாசி கேட்டது. அப்படியே கண்ணீர் வரும். தட் இஸ் அந்த வார்த்தை, அந்த பாவத்தை வச்சு அப்படி எக்ஸ்பிரஸ் பண்ணு. லைக் இந்த லைன், அப்படி முடிப்பார் சந்துரு சார். ஸோ அந்த வாத்திய ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ஸ், அந்த சாகித்ய ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ஸ், அந்த பாவ ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் சேர்ந்து வர ஒரு பாசிபிலிட்டிஸ். லைக் ஐ செட், இப்போ MSG சார் பிளேயிங் expanded the Vaadhya aspects of it immensely, range wise, speed wise, clarity wise, a new approach to Manodharma wise, fingering wise, it expanded the idiom. Lalgudi sir, ivalla nama gurus, ellarodu vaasi romba kettu indebted I am to the learnings that I have observed from all four of them. As far as the violin concerned, that was the golden period of M. Chandrasekharan, T.N. Krishnan, MSG sir, Lalgudi sir. இவா 4 பேரிலேருந்து கத்துன்ற விஷயம் வந்து many janmas I cannot repay as far as the violin goes. And added to that, since I learnt a lot of, most of my teachers have been vocal and veena and flute, so adanala and the Gaayaka aspects are also, I am very extremely blessed to have had the opportunity to learn from very, very great singers. So to go back to, we will end with the particular Tilana or something of Lalgudi sir, and then if there are any questions we can, or questions before, okay. சொல்லுப்பா. துர்கா திலானா ஞாபகம் இல்லை, ரொம்ப நாள் முன்னாடி வாசிச்சது. For example, MSG sir ஒரு சின்னதாக வாசிப்பார், ஒரு துக்குடா திலானா. So this is very violinistic. I'm just trying to say how each great artist has contributed his or her great artistic insight into the musical idiom. So if you take a tilana like in Mohana Kalyani, the Sangadis are very violinistic. இதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப violinistic. Like you'll see that in a tilana also, you'll find that the violinistic elements and the vocal elements come together very seamlessly. So there are a lot of things that need to be said more, but I think we will put a Purna Viram today at this point. Hope I have been able to communicate something of value in terms of how the attempt to be Vaadhya and Gaayaka at the same time is what is beautiful, because both of them extend the musical aesthetic in their own ways. To be Gaayaka is very critical because it is primarily a vocal tradition. There is no denying that fact. The Gamaka Shuddham, the Sahitya Shuddham, the Rakti Shuddham. Rakti is what phrase is. Rakti Shuddham is all what we assimilate from the Gaayaka tradition. But yet the sound of the violin, the possibilities and potential of virtuosity on the instrument, the way the bow works, the way the fingers can play absolutely brilliantly, that possibility also has to be exploited. So a good instrument, a good Vaadhyakara will strive to do both without compromising the integrity of either. It cannot be just instrument projecting itself. Finally, the music has to project itself. Thank you so much. Om.
Sir, usually நாங்கள் ஸ்பீச்சஸ் எதுவும் கொடுக்கறதே இல்லை. But today I want to make only one comment. நம்ம ஏதோ தெரிஞ்சிருக்குன்னு நினச்சிட்டு இருக்கோம், நமக்கு எவ்வளோ தெரியவே இல்லை அப்படிங்கிறது தான் இவர் இந்த லெக்சரில் தெரிஞ்சது. இன்னும் எவ்வளவோ தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்கு இருக்குது, அதுக்கு எண்டே இல்லை. நம்ம ஏதோ தெரிஞ்சிருக்குன்னு இவ்வளோ தான் நினச்சிருந்தா அது நம்ம தலை மேலே ஒரு ஓங்கி ஒரு அடி அடித்த மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னு மட்டும் நான் சொல்லிக்கிறேன்.
Thank you very much. Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha.